There's no love lost between the Philadelphia 76ers and the New York Knicks, but the NBA playoff series between these two franchises has taken their rivalry to a whole new level. The Knicks lead the series 2-1, and to help us get set for Game 4 on Sunday, we like to welcome in Bryan Fonseca from the New York Post and the Action Network. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
All right, look, we got to start with the play of Game 3. 76er Joel Embiid grabbing the surgically repaired ankle of New York center Mitchell Robinson. What can you tell us about the health status of the New York big man?
Doesn't look great. Mitchell Robinson did not practice, according to reports on Saturday, and left the arena in a walking boot after Game 3, which generally means he's probably trending towards not playing. But Tom Thibodeau did say we'll see how he feels prior to the game on Sunday. And it's not an ideal situation for the Knicks because this is one of the guys that you're going to throw at Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid had 50 points last game. Mitchell Robinson is someone who could help slow that down, as is Isaiah Hartenstein, but Mitchell Robinson, reputationally, probably a better defender. And if he's not there, you're going to look at Precious Achiuwa as an option. And in a dire situation, is Jericho Sims going to get a look? So, yeah, this is a pretty significant loss for the Knicks because you're losing some valuable defense out there on the front lines.
It's interesting you bring up Precious Achiuwa. He saw action in this series for the first time in Game 3. Defensively, what can he do to slow down Embiid?
Well, he's got 6 fouls. He's a body for sure. But I think ultimately, Joel Embiid is a problem. Like, he's one of these dudes, like, he can draw those fouls. And obviously, you get a better whistle at home than on the road, especially in the playoffs. Philadelphia did get to the free throw line 33 times last game. That's the most they have, I think, in this series. And it was the first game that the Knicks didn't get to the free throw line at a consistent rate. They didn't even get to 20 total free throws, I believe. Or barely got to 20. I know Jalen Brunson had a healthy chunk of that. And this is a team that went, to the free throw line north of like 50 times to start the series. So I think ultimately with the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid is somebody that they're going to look to time and again to get going. He did in the first game, very first possession, was a post-up on Isaiah Hartenstein. He scored, kind of lost his cool for a little bit, but then he collected himself and had a big second half. And ultimately, what Precious Achiuwa is going to have to notice is, and I'm sure he has from the sideline, but Joel Embiid has been shooting a lot. He hasn't been doing as much on the interior as you would think. Like, a lot of the scoring is coming from jump shooting, not just in the mid-post, but also from three. So that's something that you're going to have to account for as well.
Got to ask you about another all-star, this time on the Knicks side of the ball. Jalen Brunson had his best game of this series, dropping 39 in that Game 3 loss. How are the Knicks right now with Brunson? Do they need him to have another 39-point game, or do they need to have some other scoring other than what we saw from Jalen and Hart in Game 3?
They didn't need it the first 2 games because he shot the ball very inefficiently, and he's been seeing that drop coverage. Like, Joel Embiid, since returning from the meniscus injury, is playing deeper and deeper in the drop and is basically giving up that mid-range area so Jalen Brunson could put in the work that he likes to in that mid-range area, get to his jump shot, get to his three-point shot, and things of that nature, and be able to facilitate also, which I think he could do a little bit more of, which he demonstrated in Game 3 by getting 13 assists. So ultimately, I think with Jalen Brunson scoring, it's a great sign for them. But I think Philadelphia's shot making is ultimately what won them Game 3 rather, because they were just proficient in all these different areas that they were struggling in the prior 2 games. I think if the Knicks defense can bring that intensity, that's probably a little bit more important than the offense, because I actually felt like their offense was fine. They shot the ball efficiently and effectively. They were hitting open threes. They had spark plug offense from Josh Hart, from Dante DiVincenzo. Isaiah Hartenstein is still getting to that floater from like 8 to 10 feet and is still draining that. It's near automatic with it. And Jalen Brunson, again, killing that drop coverage and just, roasting whoever's in front of him on defense, whether it be Nick Batum, whether it be Kelly Oubre in spurts, and obviously Joel Embiid on some of those switches. I think if the Knicks continue to do that, then they'll generate good offense. But really, the defense is kind of what they need to be concerned with, because Philly just had their best offensive game and they shot the lights out in Game 3.
Interesting you bring up defense, right? Embiid, Tyrese Maxey combined to score 75 of the 76ers, 125. Embiid going for 50 of those. Look, we know Tibbs, defensive-minded coach. What changes do you expect to see in Game 4 if he hopes to make sure that the Knicks can slow down Embiid and Maxey?
Yeah, I wonder if you're going to, pressure Embiid too much because he has been effective as a passer. But I do think you have to ask yourself, can you allow yourself to get beat by Joel Embiid, or would you rather one of the role guys beat you? Because they haven't gotten consistent great play from the role players, being the Philadelphia 76ers. Like Kyle Lowry was big in game one and hasn't really given you that same offense consistently throughout the series. Kelly Oubre hasn't been consistent. Buddy Hield hasn't given you much of what I thought. He's kind of been a bust since the trade acquisition, outside of when they first got him. Those first 6 or 7 games, he was really good. And since then, he's tailed off and has been non-existent in the playoffs. And then you got Tobias Harris, who doesn't give you a lot. So ultimately, I think, are you going to make Joel Embiid a passer and make one of these other guys beat you? Or are you going to live with Joel Embiid when you don't have Mitchell Robinson out there? And the elephant in the room is Tyrese Maxey at his speed and his creativity and his ball handling, getting downhill, pulling from 28, 30 feet. Are you going to let him to continue to do that? So I think really you kind of have to let the role players beat you, and you kind of have to dare them to see if Philadelphia's others can come through in a big spot.
Should be interesting once again. Embiid coming off a 50-point performance in Game 3. Tyrese Maxey dropping 25. Should be a lot of fun as we look to see what goes down in Philadelphia Game 4 on Sunday. Bryan, thank you so much for joining us, my man.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.